Hi, I'm Jason McDonald. Like Kelsey, I'd like to talk about change and moving. First, I'd like to ask a question. By raise of hands, how many of you have either moved or had somebody close to you, whether it was a relative or a close friend, move away from you? All right, well, like most of you in this class, we all know how challenging it is to move and how many changes are definitely involved in that process. Today, I would definitely like to talk to you about how I was involved with change in moving. Kind of froze.
You can start over.
Yeah, let me start over. All right. Like Kelsey, I would like to talk to you guys about moving and all the changes that it ensues and it incorporates. Well, first I'd like for you to imagine that you've just completed your freshman year in high school, you've just found comfort zone, you've just found your friends, and you've even started looking towards your future, which includes graduating and even going to college with some of your friends. Now I would like for you all to imagine that somebody comes along and tells you that you'll virtually have to start the process over from scratch in a different location. Today I'd like to inform you how that process was inflicted upon me when I found out that I was going to be moving at the end of my sophomore year in high school. And by the time I'm done with this speech, I would like for you all to know that adjusting to changes in a new life is definitely possible. You just have to get used to it, and it just takes time. Give you a little bit of background. I'm from Rochester, Michigan. My dad worked for General Motors for about 26 years. But at the end of my freshman year, him and my mother sat my sisters and me down. We had a conversation. He told us that his job was becoming very stressful and that he needed some kind of solution, and that moving to Arizona was that solution. He was offered a job here and he would be coming out immediately. But me and my sisters and I and my mother, we would be staying back in Michigan for about a year so that my older sister could complete her senior year, because they thought it wouldn't be fair to pull her out and not let her walk with her friends and graduate. During that year, saying goodbye to my friends and my family was probably the hardest thing I had to do. But us being there for that year, not packing up and leaving in a matter of weeks or months, made it a little bit easier to say goodbye and a little bit better. Next, I would like to talk to you about the actual process of moving, which we did at the end of my freshman year. We were only in Michigan for about 2 weeks after I got my license, the day we graduated, and the day my sister walked. About a week later, our house was all packed up. We had moving trucks in our front yard, and our house was all empty, and we were ready to leave and come to Arizona. Once we made it here, we stayed in Scottsdale in my dad's apartment, 2-bedroom apartment for 6 people. Really wasn't too much fun sharing bathrooms and all that kind of stuff that entails. So the transition between getting your license and just not really getting to do anything you want to do during that one summer kind of took a toll on me. Once we were also out here, I kind of still was mad about this whole moving thing, so instead of going to my new student orientation at my new school, I just decided to blow it off. And ironically, the friends that I had made once I became comfortable here in Arizona, they were also new here they were also new to Arizona this summer. And we all just kind of chose not to go to the new student orientation, which would have familiarized us with our school and with other new students that were going to be there with us. And the last part in the adjustment process was that a couple of months before we left Michigan, my mother's mother, my grandmother, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia in its early stages. So my parents thought it would be to her best interest that she come down and live with us. And this was a huge change for all of us because we weren't really used to interacting with anybody like this before. All the new health concerns that she had, she didn't really remember our names, didn't really remember where she was, and she would always talk about old stories about her growing up on her farm in Texas. So it was just kind of different living with somebody who kind of just didn't know where they were or didn't know anything about their surroundings. And that's it. Any questions? Oh. Well, in conclusion, I've told you all about how I found out I was moving to Arizona at the end of my sophomore year in high school, about the quick transition process that we had that one summer, and finally how once we arrived here in Arizona, the couple adjustments and changes that I made to accept this new change in my life. Any questions?